Olson mentioned here he had 3 points. He just told the title of the second one. You heard how much time from the other video I put together, how much time he spent on the first one, where he talked about the man who called about the length of the conference. He spent so much time on that. His third point is the fire of evangelism. Of all things, like the fire of loyalty, the company man thing, that was the first point. That was so important. He had to spend most of the service on it. And now he's just going to breeze through the evangelism one. I just want to remind you, this is a ministers' conference for the most part. It sounds like there's probably other people there. I don't know. But we know there's ministers there and their wives. He spent so much time on that first point. And now, the biggest thing, right? The whole reason that those ministers are out in the field, evangelism. And he's going to kind of breeze through it here.
But because I don't have time, I want to get to the other. I may run over a little bit, but I'm really trying to, so you be gracious to me. I'm really trying to stay with the program because I don't want to make it hard. If we make it too late for dinner, it makes other things hard. So we don't want to do that. So we're skipping that and going to the final one. You see, I got pages. We're going to the final one. The fire of evangelism. The fire of evangelism. A preaching of a zealous effort to spread the gospel as in revival meetings. John 4:4, and he must needs go through Samaria. He needed to see a woman in Samaria. There was a woman in Samaria. She needed to meet Jesus, meet the Savior. Real quickly, information I got yesterday from Brother D. Brother Archibald started having church in Florida in May 2021 after being in Lacey for 2 years. The most recent endeavor prior to that was Reverend Lowry going to Little Rock, Arkansas in 2017. So real quick, we're getting close to the altar call. And in just a little while, you're going to see something on the screen that I trust God will burn in your hearts and you'll take away from this conference in relation to this fire of evangelism. Not right now, brother, but just in a bit, something will appear on this screen that I trust will be a very inspiring and challenging image for you. But so start 2017. We don't know the time of the year, but 2018, 1 year, 2019, 2 years, 2020, 3 years, 2021, 4 years. We're already into 2022. So 5 years, more or less. So what are you saying, preacher? I read you and Brother Archibald went there. So that was a new work. And then Brother Jermaine is there where he was. And they're branching out. I believe it's the Yalmanat. So that, but other than that. Now, God's good. You know we're on board. We're thankful for every pastor, everything that's going on. But do we want to just pat each other in the back, say we're doing so great, or do we want God to dig around in our heart? That's about 5 years, more or less. No new works. Now, Brother D could be mistaken, but he's pretty correct on his info. Other than Brother Archibald in Florida, and then Brother in Lacey branching out to a new work, but that's a long time. And I thank God, well, preacher, but during this time, the churches we have, people getting saved, and that's true. We thank God. But no new works. You say, well, Pastor Olson, don't you? But you're not thinking, you're not remembering COVID. Well, the COVID, now my wife passed in September 2020, but that was kind of the year it started, earlier in the year. But we're going way back from 2017, so a lot of these years is before COVID being in high profile. So are we going to make excuses? We'll say it's the general board's fault, it's that pastor's fault. No, I'm preaching to everybody. As we're getting ready for this altar call, I'm preaching to everybody. I'm preaching to me, to the general board, all of you. We need to be ignited. Are you listening now? We need a big-time igniting, a life-changing igniting, a ministry-changing igniting, an organizational changing igniting.
Originally, I wasn't going to put this part in here, but while I was listening to this and splicing it, I decided it was a good place. I will give a little disclaimer to this, what I'm going to show, because I was I was messaging with someone the other night, someone who I've come to rely on because I feel like they're very balanced, this person. They can play the devil's advocate for me and have me think about what I'm thinking about. What did I just say? They help me think about what I'm thinking about. That makes sense. And I've just come to adore and appreciate this person. And so it's probably them now. And so this part, someone shared it with me, but I don't like to just, I like to dig a little deeper. So I looked up Mike Kekel on Google, looked on images, and just kept scrolling down. And when it said, like, these are all the relevant search results, do you want to, how you can click on the bottom and get more? So I did that. And there was the picture this person had sent me along with information. I clicked it on. It's a Chinese page, so I hit translate. There were 2 different pages, 2 different Chinese organizations that were reporting on this show in Seattle. It's called Shen Yun, and it's a touring performing arts type thing through dance, which you can just read these things here and see what it's about. So here was my thing. This person sent it to me, and I thought, oh, well, we already know that the Kekels go and do everything that no one else is able to go and do. But then I saw the date. I saw that the date was April 8th, 2022. Not 2 days after, Olson is up there talking about the fire of evangelism and how he's speaking to himself and he's speaking to the board. And, for all of us that were originally enamored of this group, it was the idea that they had this unique fire or burning towards reaching souls. And through the years also, there was disappointment whenever you would find out that some of these leaders were not what they presented themselves to be on the surface. So when I told my confidant about this thing and I sent it over, the reply was that, well, it wasn't on a church night. Their reply was very matter of fact. They were familiar with the show and what it was about. They said, well, it wasn't on a church night. And I said, okay, I can go with you there, but I can't because having been in the ministry in this group, knowing what our lives were like when you went out either to pioneer or take over, and to know that here's the Kekels again, running around, going to all these things that who else is going? Now, he mentions in the article, so I'm going to present this to you in as balanced a way as I can. Read the article that I've attached. This is a little longer one and the one that had a little bit more information. And also keep in mind that this is somebody presenting the words. This is a Chinese group presenting the words of an American. But it seems like the translation is fine. It does appear by what he said that he told others and recommended it. He's recommending reading Epic Times. But what I thought was missing was the igniting of the fire of evangelism. I didn't see anything in there, unless I missed it, about he has this audience. He has this. Now, again, to be balanced, maybe he did say something and they left it out. And you can also see here, but I'll say it anyway, that it is anti-communist by all counts. I mean, if you read their stuff, and what Mike says is quoted as saying, then it's not pro-communist. Just let me get that out of the way. We can't know if he mentioned something about Jesus, about wanting to reach the world, about he seems to have been bent on talking about he hates communism, he recommends the Epic Times. It may very well be that people there with him, which I'm curious about, if they were from the conference, because he mentions telling people, he mentioned that he recommended it to people in the church, and he seemed to be pointing to some people there in the audience. That's what they wrote. And so, if you've been in this conference to Ignite, and Olson said this 2 days prior, it just seems like an odd place to find yourself. And it sends a message of, yeah, I heard it, but what's wrong with doing this? It's no big deal. You know, night out on the town. It was never a thing. It was never a thing before. And I think it's only because of the internet that we even know that he and Tanya do all this stuff. I mean, he doesn't care. He wrote on his blog showing the places they went. They shared this on their open Instagram and Facebook page, the blog. So this, again, I don't care what people do. I care when people set them up. They're elitist. This is elitist. This is what revolutions have been about in foreign countries, and it's what people are aggravated about now, is the whole idea. No one likes when they are in the lower classes and they're working their butts off. They're doing what they know to do, and there's somebody at the top taking away rights, taking away freedoms, exacting taxes, ruining your ability to earn or to be free, to move about freely. That's been that way since forever. So that's what this smacks of. This is what is. It's elitism, but I really care about these people who are pastoring. So I hope, in conjunction with the idea that they're traveling around the world, they're on a cruise, they're doing all these things. Anyway, it's a kind of in-your-face thing. It's an in-your-face thing. And you can't see that when you're in, because you don't have like a compendium, a whole compiling of everything. And that's why I'm trying to put that together for you to see that. If you, as a pastor, I mean, I see a lot of the Facebook pages, servicemen's homes, they're going out and they're doing stuff, but they're doing it in this big, massive group thing. It's not intimate. It's not just like the husband and the wife going out for a night on the town, or going on a cruise, or going glamping together, or hiking in the woods, or, I don't know, ziplining in Costa Rica. It's just, is it happening? Because if it's happening, I don't see it, because I'm looking at all these videos and those people are there. They're there. They're not leaving. No one's mentioning that someone isn't there because they're on vacation, like in Fausto. So you're going to see in this next video that I share where KEKEL refers to the board, the executive board especially, as upper echelon, and that's how he behaves, as upper echelon, as above it all, And so if you think you're in a group that is concerned with, okay, I won't even say concerned. I don't even think he believes it. I don't even think he believes what he preaches. I don't think he believes the Bible. I don't think he has any faith, as I read about in the KJV. He thinks of this as a business. He runs it like a business. He talks about it like a business. And if you can leave your post so often with nary a soul being preached to while you're out, or anything, any signs attached to you that you have a burning in you, then I do question it, and I do question your faith. I judge him to have no faith and no belief. If he did, he would be about the Father's business, not setting up a business, not being distracted with LLCs and for profit and tenants and properties. I thought that kind of stuff was supposed to be left to non-preacher folk. You either have something special, and the nerve of this guy to start tearing down other churches, because the signs of him believing it are nowhere to be found. There are definite things that will happen, and that will be, and consequently, what he has passed down, like a lineage, like a legacy from Davis to all these ministers, they're hamstrung. Their hands are tied behind their back. They cannot do what they believe God wants them to do. They can't. Because if they hear a voice that tells them to do something, maybe even to leave, they're not going to believe it. They're going to think it's the devil. But they're restricted. They have to go through a board. I don't know why my voice does that every time I say board. The board, the executive board, the general board. It's nauseating. I say all of these vacations and this little excursion to see Shen Yun in Seattle on a night on the town, $85 tickets. Maybe you got them for free, who knows? You probably go have something to eat, maybe go shop, who knows? I think it gives you carte blanche to go ahead and do it. You go do it. The precedent has been set. And Joe Olson himself, in that previous video that I posted, said himself, these men, they're prayerful men. They do things that God wants them to do. He trusts that. They're prayerful men. They seek God's face. So it must be okay. I want you to leave first and go do it. But I want you to do it. You go. You take your family. You take your loved one, whatever it is, and just go. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to play the rest of the video from the Ignite Conference from Joe Olson talking about the fire or whatever, about evangelism, okay? Listen to the statistics he has about how many churches, new churches in how many years, okay? Then that should be punctuated with what the problem, one of the problems is with KEKEL's excursions. And then it's going to go right into the Thursday morning teaching from October 2023, last year, Regional Conference in Memphis. But here's the thing, as you're listening to that video, they had technical problems. They had technical problems a lot at that conference. I don't know if it was the setup there for media, but it was terrible. And so there's some buffering and there's some things going on, but please just pay attention. KEKEL runs it like a business. And Olson, everyone on the boards, they have to be on board with it, right? And so I want you to see the duress that these preachers are under. They can't just be themselves. They can't just be led by God to do what they want. And it all comes down to money and obligation. You know, being loaned money. I say to anyone in any group, there's a song, don't take the money. Don't take the money. Don't take the money. Don't take the building. Don't obligate yourself. Don't obligate someone else if you leave. That is not what this whole thing is supposed to be about. This is a scheme. It's a scheme that you're a part of, and that's why there's no growth, and that's why over the years good people have left when they've come to the realization, and I desperately want you to come to the realization. I'm just hopefully a piece of a puzzle for you, because you have years of seeing and hearing things, the same things that I saw and heard. Just allow yourself to contemplate it and put it all together and see the big picture, okay? So I'm going to leave it. I'm just going to play the rest of what I have here from Joe Olson. Then I'm going to play. So when you see at the end, Joe keeps referring to, you're going to see something up on the screen. 2 days later, KEKEL's over at Shenyun having a good old time. It's just, you can't make this stuff up. No, and it's all their words, and it's all their activity online that you can see. And then listen to that morning service, morning teaching where KEKEL's talking to preachers. He's talking to preachers, and he's live streaming it, so church members that are there are hearing it. And what would that make you feel like? Like, I'm just a number. I'm just a number on a flow chart and a graph. I don't think there's anything anywhere that says how many people you should have by any period of time. And it's all a mess. The whole organizational thing is the problem. And people in it that don't have the faith they want you to have. They don't have it, so they really need you to get it and put it to work. Because their whole thing is works. It's works. And you're always dangling over the precipice of hell, ready to go in for your unconsecrated behavior. Look at the elitists in this group and say, am I served best here? Is this where I can do the most for God? If you really believe that's what you should be doing, you really have to. Please, please, please. And so I'm going to leave you with that. I have faith in you. I trust you that you will put it together in your own mind however you need to. Okay, have a good night. Because I'm going to go try to get to sleep tonight at a very normal time. I appreciate every single one of you that's subscribing to things and reading and watching, and just spread the word, okay? Just please spread the word.
We need a church in Minneapolis, Minnesota. We need a church in St. Paul, Minnesota. But we need to work. So that's a twin seat. You can drive from one right into the other. Now, real quick. Well, I thought so-and-so was there. And I don't know what else posted, but no, so maybe. We don't have a work in Minneapolis. We do not have a work in Minnesota. We've tried it. It's been various ones there over the years. But we don't have a work. Real quickly, you say, well, how about so-and-so? Well, there was a so-and-so that was here at Graham. And so-and-so would be at other brothers' houses 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning playing games. So-and-so. When he should have been home with his wife. So if you've been hearing anything from so-and-so, he's not with us. I'm not calling his name, but he's not a minister. We did not send him. We have no work in Minnesota, but we need one. Is that okay? We need to work in Fargo, North Dakota. There's men, women, young people. I don't know, there's something about Fargo, North Dakota. Now, Moorhead, Minnesota's near there, and there's Bismarck, North Dakota, all that. But there's something about Fargo, North Dakota, and Brother Ankabar can probably relate especially, but we need And please, God may direct to other places before any of these I name. Please understand. I'm not saying these will be the next place. And we only need people that God sends and that can go and do the job. But we need a work in Fargo, North Dakota, Alexandria, Louisiana. We need a church. Soul Saving Station, Columbus, Georgia. Yes, we got to work in Phoenix. Reverend Jones, the general board members there. But we need a work in Columbus, Georgia. That's where I first met Brother Tice, my wife and I. I'm quite sure. I think Brendan Oberhaus were there. Columbus, Georgia. Thank God for Brother Tice. But we need a work in Columbus, Georgia. Savannah. How long are we going to leave Savannah? We've been there before. How long are we going to leave Savannah without a holiness preacher? So I ask you today in the presence of God and whatever angels are looking on, when are we going back to Savannah? Wichita Falls, Texas. We've been there before, I'm quite sure. In the Air Force, I was stationed for tech school at Shepherd Air Force Base near Wichita Falls. But we need a work in Wichita Falls and on, Texarkana, Tallahassee, Boston. And I would say, let me say it in love, but the preacher kind of blew out. But God didn't blow out. When are we going back to Boston? These are only some. I must close. And now it should begin to appear on your screen. And may God touch your heart. May God touch your heart. As the choir comes, the fire of evangelism, the harvest field, it's harvest time. The Savior's calling. It's growing late. Who will go? Who will say, "Here am I, send me"? God, ignite us by thy Holy Ghost in this service, in this conference. The altars are open. The altars are open. God bless your people. Help each of us. Oh God, burn the image of the lost multitudes. Oh God. You said the field is the world. The multitudes around the world. God help us. Confirm your word. Accomplish your will now in Jesus' name. God bless you as you seek him. Pastor Tiemann.
In the last conference in April, we put out word to you that you had 6 months. The churches have 6 months. Your 6 months is up. We analyzed trends on a graph on the screen, if you'll remember, and encouraged you to analyze your own numbers as they go up and down. And they always go up and down. Everyone knows that. You can plunge half the congregation from Sunday morning to Sunday night. Run a special promotion. Our overseer's coming into town. Come, we're going to have a special promotion. And it's like no one shows up. Sometimes. Some will, but you wonder, where did everyone go? What's up with not going to church at night? So if it's the same thing, I understand. They figure, well, I can watch online. That's the downside of having the live stream. They figure I can just watch online. But that's not really having church. He said, forsake not the assembling of yourselves together. The Bible, even if he was alive today and was rewriting the Bible, he would not say, don't forsake the assembling of your Zoom meeting together. The personal assembly is important. It's more than just attending an event. Let me tell you what the intention is from a corporate standpoint. A corp means a body. A nonprofit corporation, such as we are, means a body.
Yeah.
Like corpse, a body. And the principle behind that is so that there isn't one person who is all in charge of everything without accountability. That's why you have a board. You have to discuss certain issues. Not everything, but the important decisions of the organization have to be discussed with the executive board. Now, there's a general board and there's an executive board. The executive board is the top echelon, just like your government has branches. You have executive, legislative, judicial. But we have the executive board, which consists of the chairman, CEO, general overseer, the secretary, and the AO, administrative officer. These men here are part of the board, but they are general board. And the general board would also consist of district overseers, if there were any, or any other additional regional overseers that should come up in the future. That would be a general board, where you would have a different meeting with a lot of people. Anyway, it is what it is. So the organization invests confidence in you when you're a pastor and you're trying to get a church going, get it on its feet. Sometimes financial loans, by virtue of the fact that you're even allowed to hold that position, and that requires certain things such as being an example of the believer and the things that are delineated in Timothy and Titus and so forth. Those kinds of things. So it's a great confidence, it really is. So when God calls you, it's an even higher confidence, because you may answer. God has confidence in you. He believes it, and He sees something in us. We can excel. In me. Amen. And so we put confidence in the men who are appointed to these positions and try to help. But there has to, if a man will not work, neither should he eat. That a man should bear his own burden, that if he will not provide for his own, he's worse. Now, that really, in context, is about family. He said, let the family take care of them, and the church not be charged. That's the Bible, right, preachers? Okay, that's what that's. That was a little bit loud, wasn't it? I appreciate my wife, and she is absolutely the quintessential helpmeet. I mean, I'm telling you, from a husband's perspective in a ministry, that's a worker for God right there. And she had never let me down, ever. Never, not once. I don't care what, any duty you would assign to her. And then she'll do all of hers and even some of mine. I'm serious. That's all right. No, come on. I'm not trying to get that. I'm not trying to lift her up on a pedestal. There's a lot of other great women here. But God only said we could have one, right, boys? Let's hold what you got. Hold what you got. Confidence in someone with finances, the man, confidence in the man, confidence in his ministry. It's only right to expect a return. No one would put out and just let somebody hold that for a while unless there was a return. Now, usury is different than interest. One is abuse, the other is an expected and due return. And if I'm not mistaken, the building payments right now in the organization are interest-free. And the return of seeing a successful initiative. If you have someone that really doesn't do much except a Friday evening Bible talk online, then no way you're going to lay down money to get this man a building. because he doesn't have any initiative. If he has nothing, no soul winning going on, he's not actively out inviting people, then you're not going to invest in that man because he's not doing anything. He's not working. He's not business-minded. If he was business-minded, all of his ducks would be in a row. Quack, 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 Aflac. Get him out. That's not a duck. Gets all his ducks in a row, so his finances in a row, his bookkeeping's right, his reports are on time, he attends the meetings, he's where he's supposed to be, he's part of the fellowship, he doesn't do wacky stuff like Santa Claus promotions and Halloween witch hunts, the egg hunts on Easter egg hunts and jack-o'-lanterns on the church porch and weirdness, when he knows that that's not what we do, that we don't roll like that, and they do that anyway. They use rap music and this worldly contemporary music for their video backgrounds, and they're letting their daughters wear blue jeans and put it up on the internet and all this stuff like that. And then they want you to put money behind them. No. And then, worse, the money and confidence has been put into them, and they take it and do that with it while they nurse their 10 or 15, 20 people. Maybe once in a while it'll spike to 40 or something. And they sit in a building, even have the common decency to pay their building payment. That's not my idea of a preacher. Man, the electric company won't even let you get away with not paying your bill. You pay that because you want your lights on. But you have some other bulbs that are burned out. I told you it was business. I'm not preaching right now. I'm just talking. I always try. I don't make it quite often, but very often. But even the finances, you expect a return. And so when you have a church building that's paid for, and the first thing they say is, our loan's paid off, we don't have to pay anymore. And so fine, but they don't have a congregation. They're sitting in that building, there's no congregation, and then when you talk to them, they're not inviting people, they don't even have business cards. What kind of business is that? This is the Father's business, and it has to be run like a business.
I want to respond to so many things, but I said I wouldn't.
Organized. Those who bash organization are just slobs. You go and look at their dresser, go and look under their car seat. You'll see French fries from a fast food trip 10 years because they're sloppy, messy. They dress messy, they look messy, they live messily, everything about them, and so they can't lead an organized effort. But if you don't have an organized effort, it's not going to succeed. It isn't going to succeed. You have to pull all these things into where they should be. What does that mean? All right, well, interpret that. That means you have to look at all of them and say, man, I need to get all this together. Have you ever tried to get your act together? Man, that's a big job, isn't it? Don't be discouraged. Keep at it. But you have to get your act together. And so here's an example. There's a man going to go to a conference. He's going to go to a conference here, like he's here now. I'm not saying there's this actual man. This is hypothetical. So he's here now, and you know that this preacher hasn't paid his building payment in months. And then he shows up at a conference. And then you see him online. He went to see mom and dad. You see him online. He's down at the amusement park, $150 a day. And you're scratching your head thinking, why can't this man pay his building payment? The message you get from that's what I get from it, is he's not in control of his money. He does not know what he is doing. No wonder he never has any. And we have to understand this, and this is not to smack people in the head, but as leaders and workers, and even on a personal level, folks, you got to say, I am what I am. I have to change what I am if I change what I do. And is that not the premise of salvation? Jesus said, I'm not going to go around thumping them on the head and flicking them for everything they do. Oh, you sinned, pop! You're going to hell, pop! He didn't go around with his nightstick beating on people. He said, if I can change them, they'll automatically change what they do. It's intrinsic. It's an inward thing. It's change the nature. One preacher was preaching, and he said, we all know that we still have our fleshly nature, a carnal nature. I said, what? What Bible school did he go to? I thought Peter said, well, that's the heart and soul of it. So if my finances are always a mess and I never have any money and there's money coming in, where is it going? I don't know. In fact, there should be a ceiling. If somebody pays a big bunch of money forever, and they're only going to listen to me 5 minutes. But we were reading over the reserve funds, and I have them to map it out. Reverend Fausto maps it out every month on a reserve, and it shows whether it's or a downward direction. I showed you one in the last conference. Well, I just went over them the other day. A handful of us looked at them before coming here, and most of them are going in a downward direction. Most of them. There's one that's a couple hundred lower than it was 3 years ago. Well, I'd hate to think that my reserve fund had gone down after 3 years. That tells you something. But he doesn't have a vision. He's not building it in a positive direction. Why can't you tell your people, hey, we have $10,000 in our reserve fund, and we're going to need this much if we're going to reach this goal. Who will give? What's wrong with that? Reverend Devonshire right now is trying to put screens, some new screens in his church to fix that situation there. And he's working with a retrofit old church Christian Scientist building. And so he's got so much in his reserve, but because he doesn't want to touch that, he's just, or anything that could happen. You can't just drain all your money. I'll refresh you again. When you get 10 or 15 grand in your GF, you're supposed to take the rest off and put it in your reserve. Not let it build up to 35 and 40. Not wait until there's 80. Get off your backside and go to the bank. Get up and put your reports in when you're supposed to. If you won't do your reports, I don't think you're faithful in anything else. Because we expect it of you as a prerequisite for credentialing you and backing you up and letting you use our name and bailing you out and whatever's necessary. And that's good. It's what you committed to do. And then they'll tell you, don't they, Reverend Kinson? And I told Reverend Kinson, Reverend Fausto, just call these guys. Tell them, just call them. Let them know that you're going to call and ask. They'll say, I'll get it all done. And they need a month to go back and scrape together 8 months worth of reports and get them to you. You're alive. Okay, so the church tithe. Waken yourself just long enough to catch this. Just wake up for a second. Okay, you're ready now, right? All right. We are going to set a threshold of church tithe coming back from your church. I'm talking about paid buildings, organizationally owned buildings. We're going to set a threshold of church tithe coming from your church, which means if your attendance is down, it's low, there isn't anything there, you won't reach it. If you build the church, you'll be up above that. Then we're going to charge you rent for using our building. Isn't that right? To sit there, still owe money on them. It's not right for them to sit there and to use that building and not do what God sent them there to do. So they're going to do it or not. The 6 months is up. The trend is already in review. The trends are already in review. All we have to do is get them together. I went over one the other day. Now I rejoice. Brother Ankerbauer, can I use you for an example? Do you mind? You won't be offended and quit the church? The other day somebody walked by and said, hey, you didn't even say hello. I'm quitting the church. I'm offended. And they laughed. We were just joking. But yeah, how many did you have the other day? 222 in Denver, Colorado. No, that's not what you call it. What do you call it? Aurora. Which is much prettier. It means light. Okay. So, and then we went back. We looked at his graph, and we went back, what, a year? I think we went back a year. And he had a 150 over here and 100 some there. But the dips, bing, it's like an EKG. Bing. Now, when you look at an EKG and it goes, bing, what do you think? You get panicked. So, but like any church, he has the highs and the lows, the ups and the downs. But if you took all of those numbers that he had and we averaged them out, it wouldn't be 150. It wouldn't be 222. You average it out over that year, it would be somewhere in the middle. That's what averages tend to do. Strike somewhere in the middle. That's what they're for. And the same is true with all. But when it's running flatlined, that's death. When it's down and barely moving up and down, there's nothing happening. When there's an Easter spike and a Christmas spike, those don't count. Or a spike when they have a sale. So none of that really counts. But this isn't stuff that we should be so worried about analyzing. It should be you and the people. The people, talk to the people about building up the church, getting more people. Okay, so I'm just throwing this out. All the churches and the ones where the building is owned and there's nothing there and we can't get a pastor to go in there and take it, then we're going to sell it. We'll just sell it. If nobody stands up for Springfield, we'll sell Springfield. We sold Mississippi. What else did we sell? We sold a few others. We also bought some. And we also financed a few. The new home in Hawaii. First one moved in the home the other day. Moved in, one of the Marines. And he's been here to conference. He came to the conference in Washington. He moved in the home. And there's servicemen's homes, like Reverend Olson was talking about. They haven't had, if nothing, haven't had somebody live in there for years because they don't want them to. They don't encourage them to. Because if they've really made an issue out of it, they could get them to move in the home where they could mentor them and help them and train them up in the Lord. But they want to use it for storage, or they want to use it for personal use, or prayer chambers, or whatever. And why do we give you 6 bedrooms so you can have prayer chambers? All right, it's an old model, so we're moving away from it. Give you a little positive update. Just let me finish this negative stuff first. You got to earn your push pin. Push pin. Reverend Kinson's smiling. We've been talking about this. So here's what we're going to do. We love to be able to say, don't we? Yes, we have a church in Bodonk, Mississippi. Wonderful. We're on board with that. Pray for them, support them, help any way you can. Let's do this. But it's not a church yet. So hitherto, there's always been a push.
As you can see from the video, they had a lot of issues with buffering and all. I tried to cut out a lot of those parts, but then it just fell off entirely, so that's why it ends where it does.